Joining me now, Sky's Political Editor Andrew Clennell. Let's start with Chris Bowen's absence from the Parliament yesterday. Back in the Parliament today, but he was still the key focus point of question time. Let's have a listen.
How many days of Parliament will the part-time minister miss in 2026? How many days of Parliament will the part-time minister, miss next year? And what will be the cost to Australian taxpayers?
And how much taxpayer money will be spent in funding the full-time presidential duties of the part-time minister?
Andrew, square this circle for me. I mean, how does the PM say that this new cop role, when he's got to fly across the equator at the drop of a hat, how on earth is this compatible with doing his job as a minister in Australia?
Well, he's sticking with that position at the moment. I know there's been this speculation about Andrew Charlton taking up the job, but I'm told that's off beam at the moment anyway. So whether there's a change next year, I don't know. But he, I guess, with that victory behind him, he thinks he can do whatever he wants, right? And I guess the point that Albanese would make is if we got COP in Adelaide, he'd still be COP president, the actual president, not just president of negotiations, which he is now, and he'd still be minister. So they seem pretty stubborn on this one. The opposition's point of view, the more people see of Chris Bowen, the better, they reckon. Pretty unpopular and sort of polarising figure in large sections of the community. And, of course, power prices are going up and they're going to continue to go up. And that's the expectation as the transition occurs. So if you can lock that together with the fact this guy's eyes off the ball, if you say his eyes off the ball because he's worried about the rest of the world, not Australia, works pretty well for you politically. I know if you were down here, you'd be all over it, Peter.
I agree with you. I think it's ideal for the opposition. I think that's why the Prime Minister's going to have to cut him loose at some time. I think they'll come back maybe in the new year and say, look, it's ramped up, it's so important, he's got to go and do this, because, you know, pollsters say to me on the left and the right that he is deeply unpopular. And I also think that the issues now here with the grid, we'll get to your interview with Matt Keane in a moment, but all the sort of the system-wide failures, the transition is stalling, the targets are not being met, he's having a lot of difficulty with the gas rollout. I think all of those things are combining. And I just don't think he's got the intellectual grunt to resolve these issues and be a good advocate for the government. I think this is where Charlton's name obviously is being thrown around. But you put Matt Keane on the spot today, former Liberal, now obviously handmaiden for the government on climate. He was pretty cagey about prices. Let's have a listen.
Could prices continue to increase for 10 years before that transition is completed?
Well, that's not what the Australian Energy Market Commission says. They say get on with the job of rolling out renewables, and quite frankly, we should be listening to the independent experts.
When do they stop going up?
When we get on with the job, when we get on with the job of rolling out renewables at scale. We know it's the cheapest form of electricity, and the problem
how many years does that take
in the grid? It's not enough, Andrew.
How many years does that take?
The job, Andrew. Well, it will take the coordinated rollout.
Well, you didn't miss, Andrew.
Well, he can't tell us, can he? And that there was that report the other day from an unnamed CEO of a power company saying it'll go up for a decade and the government needs to be honest. Because to roll out the poles and wires for the renewables, the transition costs a lot. And, you know, Chris Bowen's hoping the wholesale prices change so the main price will change next year. But at the end of the day, the rollout's still occurring and it's expensive. But, yeah, he couldn't answer. And that tells you everything you need to know. They're not promising
where the problem is.
The price will stabilise. And this is a massive issue. This is a big issue for the government. They're going to unveil this gas reservation policy, but I'm not convinced that's a big fix. They're going to have to take the rebates off or cost the budget. The budget's under stress. That's going to push up inflation again. We get an inflation figure tomorrow. It's expected to be high because state energy rebates have come off. Yeah, they got some real problems. And finally, the opposition has an opportunity, I guess, rather than just fighting themselves.
Yeah, exactly right. Now that the coalition has a point of difference, it can actually go on the front foot and be aggressive on this issue. Otherwise, they're, you know, joined at the hip with the government. They couldn't make mileage out of it. And punters at home didn't think anyone was in their corner. Now the coalition can absolutely be in the corner of voters. Speculation about Susan Lee. Let's go there, because obviously there was no issues today in the party room meetings. She sailed through. Everyone I speak to is not saying she's the long-term proposition. They're just saying not yet for a change. We saw that poll obviously on Sunday. Andrew Hastie hot on her heels as preferred leader. Angus Taylor's in the mix. There are plenty of others as well. I don't know about Tim Wilson. I don't think he's in the mix right now. It might be in his own mind, but I don't think out there with punters. But, you know, she is going to be basically on death watch in political terms with every poll, and those polls won't go away. They'll be comparing her to her colleagues. Can she survive? Like, do you see a scenario where she will be there at the next election?
Very unlikely, but if her polls improve and they can't coalesce on the right candidate to take her on, I guess it's possible. Because they're pretty divided on that, aren't they, between Taylor and Hastie? Yeah,
I think they're all decided they don't want her, but they haven't decided who they want, hence she stays. What about Pauline Hanson
polls.
And
it's all about polls.
The Wagyu steak cooked on a sandwich press. I like the Wagyu. I don't know about the sandwich press. It wouldn't get it very hot at all. But she turned it on. There she is. And she made her potato bake. I suspect that was pretty good. But he's a cheap date if that's all it takes for him to leave the party that he once led and was the Deputy Prime Minister of at a point in our history. Do you think he'll go? He says he's going to announce a decision by the end of the week. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, I think he'll run for the Senate for One Nation. I think it's a big personal strategic mistake. I think he's crying out for attention. He's going to do it. He wouldn't come on with me. After our last discussion with him, by the way, he said he wouldn't come on with me today because he didn't want to talk about himself. He agrees with both of us. That was the text message he sent to me in jest, tongue-in-cheek. I agree with you and Peter. I should stop talking about myself all the time so I won't come on. But I think he'll announce he's going to One Nation. But I just look at how that worked for Mark Latham. You know, just respect your legacy and your career with the National Party is what would be my personal advice to Barnaby Joyce, and don't trash it. And I think he's at real risk of doing that.
Well, he's clearly given up any chance of coming back into a senior role within the coalition, because jumping ship to One Nation means, you know, he'll rather be sort of a big fish in a small pond than come back with the coalition in any sort of way, shape or form. It'll make him persona non grata with a lot of coalition supporters. I know he has a following, absolutely he does, but I think it's a bad move.
Yeah, I mean, he might get some popularity and some votes initially, but we're still a fair way from the next election. There's a lot of, you know, he's a divisive and polarising character. A lot of female voters don't like him.
A lot love him, though.
Pauline Hanson,
I've been on the hustings with him.
I mean, she's 71.
Sure, but I've been on the hustings with him out in regional Australia, and I've seen women, young women and others, you know, not just crusty old farmers with bow legs come up to him in the street, and he does have a following. In the markets that generally you'll find an increase in a Conservative vote, he's a rock star.
Well, there you go. But I don't think he'll run for New England. I think he wants the Senate and potentially the One Nation leadership eventually, no matter what they say, no matter what Pauline says about wanting a daughter Lee to get it. So I think that's the name of the game, and attention and being relevant again. And he's crying out for relevance. But, you know, I still think it's a bad move. I mean, if you've been Deputy Prime Minister twice, you've had a pretty good career, haven't you? Not many get that down here.
When he first came into the Senate, 2005, I think it was. He came in at the time that Howard, if you remember, after the 2004 election, won the Senate, first time in 20-something years, had the Senate majority, and Barnaby was there, and he was, you know, hard to lasso, let's say that, in terms of negotiations. I was working for the Senate leader.
Was he ever?
So it looks like he'll go out. He'll go out from the Senate as he arrived in the Senate. We'll see. He's very welcome to come on with both of us anytime. Very welcome to be here on a Tuesday night, Barney.
Absolutely, Barnaby. Come on.
Come on.
He didn't rule it out long term, just not today. So we'll see how we go.
All right. Okay, we'll leave it there. Thanks, Andrew.